Hello, everyone. Today, right, or whenever you are watching this, you will learn two very important concepts that we have grouped together into this one lesson, and that is factors and multiples. Understanding these will help you in a lot of areas in math, from the basic operations to much more complex problems. First, what are factors? A factor is a number that divides into it exactly without leaving a remainder. In other words, if you can divide one number by another, and the result is a whole number, right? So that's one that isn't a decimal point or something like that, right? Then the second number is a factor of the first that is divided, right? For an example, right, I'll try to show you on this piece of paper to see if we can put it into visualization, right? Let's take the number 12 and find the factors of 12, right? So we'll need whole numbers to divide into it, right? So start with 1. Right? So we see this here, right? 12 divided by 1 is 12. So the 1 will be the factor of 12 because it adds into or divides into a whole number, right? That would also go with 2, right? 2. 12 divided by 2 equals 6. So here we would write 2. And we'd write 6 here, and the 2 would be the factor, right? Of course, 3 and so on. The factors of 12 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6, because 6, we just swap these around to. Now, factors always come in pairs, and they are the whole numbers that can be multiplied together to get the original number, just to put it simply. Multiples. All right. These are another concept that we are covering, right? A multiple of a number is the result of multiplying that number by an integer. For an example, 2 have the multiples 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on, right? Multiples of 2 are the result, right? Like the multiples of 3, right? 3 times 1 equals 3. 3 times 2 equals 6. 3 times 3 equals 9, and so on, right? Like just timesing a number by another number, and that would be a multiple, right? Like the first few multiples of 3 are 3, 6, 9, 12, and 15. Right. Multiples go on like forever, right? They don't have an end to them. They're always increasing, and you can keep multiplying the number by a larger whole number to find more multiples. Now, these two concepts have a strong relation to each other, right? Factors are numbers that divide into another number, while multiples are numbers that are a result from multiplying the number. For example, if you look at the factors of a number, all of those factors are also multiples of a smaller number, right? Let me just make this a bit easier to see, right? So if we look at 6, right? The factors of 6 are 1, 2, 3, and 6, right? Because those are numbers that it can be divided by to form a whole number. The multiples of 6 are obviously 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, and, so on forever. So you can see that factors and multiples of the same number are related, but factors are divisors of the number, and multiples are produced by that number. Excuse me. Now, let's do a little practice on this here. What are the factors and multiples of the number 8? Right? Factors of 8, you'd start with 1 and keep dividing. 8 divided by 1 equals 8. And if you have a piece of paper or something, or I think it'd be a good idea to write this down, so after you finish this course, this lesson, and if you're doing this for school, studying, or just for general knowledge, right, you might want to write this down in case you want to look back on it, right? And then right? Anyhow, the multiples of 8, 8 times 1 equals 8, 8 times 2 equals 16, and you're just adding 8 for the multiples, right? Say 1, 8. Anyhow, just another little touch on it. Factors are numbers that divide into another number exactly. Like, just remember that they cannot be decimals. They can't be decimals. They have to be natural numbers, which are ones that would normally appear when counting, I guess you could say. Multiples are the numbers you get when you multiply a number by 1, 2, 3, and so on. Right? It could go up to any number. Any number over 0 forms multiple. I mean, you could argue that 0 is a multiple, but I would say so. Factors come in pairs, and multiples go on forever. Now, there are many different ways to show this, like how to find the multiples, how to find the factors, right? So one of them, right, I just showed you a little kind of thing, right? Usually for smaller numbers, you can just use your common knowledge of what it can be divided by, but say we had the number 36, okay? How would you find the factors, right? It might be a bit more difficult, but you just go down. If you have a calculator, or maybe you don't need one, right? You just go, right? Biggest one, right? Personally, I try to go for the biggest one, biggest number. It just makes it feel shorter, but it really doesn't make a difference, right? So 6 divided by 6. And then you just continue so on, right? So 3 and 2, right? And if you are in school and you have an assignment that wants you to write them out, you'd write it something like this. You'd write it like, or if you are working with powers, right? That is 3 to the power 2 times 2 to the power 2. And such. Yeah, that's essentially how you would work it out, right? There are comparisons, though, like greatest common factor or lowest common multiple, which you would have learned in earlier grades if you are in grade 10, right? But, right, greatest common factor would be, say you're comparing two numbers, right? Say we have the 36 again, and another number that is also divisible by 6 or divisible by 3 or 2, right? then its greatest common factor would be whichever one the other one can also be divided by. And you want to go with the biggest one. Like, if it's able to be divided by 3 and 6, you'd want to go with 6 rather than 3. Lowest common multiple, it's just timesing the number, right? So 36 and another number, right? How many times do you have to add a 36 to 36 to get to a number that number also gets to from adding to itself? Okay. Like, say if we had 36, right? And then 6, right? Their lowest common multiple would be 36, because you'd have to times 6 by 6 and 36 by 1 for it to equal 36. And you know what? I hope you have a better understanding of factors and multiples. These concepts will help you with many different topics in math. So just keep practicing. And don't hesitate to ask any questions. All the contact information is on our webpage if anything's unclear. Thanks for joining us, and I will see you in the next lesson. Thank you.